Hey guys, Micah from Black Bear Custom Kydex. I've got a video for you today on this Ontario Knife Company bayonet. This is the USMC Combat Model OKC-3S. And as you can see, obviously it's got a hole for the barrel, or a ring I should say, and it's got a lug it's got a slot for a bayonet lug. So this is a very classic design. I have no idea the history, how old this thing is, how old the design is, or anything. Bayonets have been around for obviously many years, but I don't know about this particular design. So anyway, if anybody has that information, they want to comment down below, we'd all appreciate the little education there. So all right, this belongs to a gentleman named Chris, and Chris is a rep down at Exotac in Georgia. And for those of you who are not familiar already, it probably means you haven't been watching my channel for very long or at all, because I always have some Exotac stuff on these sheaths. People love Exotac's fire starting gear. It's a great company. Their gear is awesome. They have my favorite ferro rod, which is the fire rod from Exotac. They also have a really great watertight all-in-one striker and rod called the Nano Striker XL, and a bunch of other great stuff. So why don't you go check out Exotac. I will link their website in my description box down below. And yeah, so anyway, Chris over at Exotac, I've done a few projects for him, and this is, I want to say, the third or fourth, probably the fourth project I've done for him, but this is a really unique one, and it's one of the more difficult and unique knives in general to do any kind of Kydex for, because this finger ring just poses so many weird problems. Obviously, it's all up to the maker to decide how they want to shape a sheath and you know, what kind of proportions and dimensions. But for kind of what you see on my channel typically, this, I think you might imagine, would pose some issues. The other interesting issue that you'll see addressed in this particular build is that he asked if I could make a way to carry this on a Tek-Lok with adjustable cant. So by nature it has to be ambidextrous, because sometimes he'll want to carry it maybe on his right side in a vertical position, and other times, so that would put the Tek-Lok on this side of the knife, and then other times he might want to carry it as a right-handed draw in the scout position, which means in the small of your back in a horizontal position, which would place the Tek-Lok on this side of the knife. You reach behind and draw out like so. So obviously it has to be ambidextrous, and having some way to make a Tek-Lok swivel. You guys have seen me do a couple of adjustable Tek-Lok things, swivel plates and whatnot, but they've been kind of lackluster, and part of the reason why is because I didn't have any kind of milling device, no milling machine, no way of really cutting clean slots or anything like that, much less a curved one, which is a whole other world of hurt if you've ever tried doing something like that. So trying to use a Dremel for that's a no-go. That just, it's not clean. It creates a huge mess. Doesn't look very good. So I've been doing things like drilling a couple of holes along the arc, and then trying to use an X-Acto knife to kind of cut the outer diameter edges in an arc, and it's worked. It's been fine. I've created some functional things. I've sent them out, and clients have been happy with them. They work. You know, I'm not going to send you something that doesn't work, but it's not the same as having something that's just, you know, a little bit easier to create and also looks cleaner. So that's what I've got here. This is a Tek-Lok swivel plate that I've made. It's obviously specific to this particular knife and sheath, and you can see it's got a very large hardware recess up in there. That's about a 1/2 inch tall. The reason why that hardware recess has to be so high is because, so I've also made two plates because it's not a symmetrical plate, so I had to make one for each side. The reason the hardware, or sorry, the hardware recess has to be so tall is because of that ring. If you look, the only way I could have avoided it, well, not even that. I was going to say I could have just chopped this section of the sheath off, but there would still be a ring there when you've got the knife inside the sheath. So I had to make sure that it was high enough that when the Tek-Lok rotates, it could get by that. The other way to get around that is to have the Tek-Lok lower on the sheath. Maybe with a small knife that would fly, but in my opinion, especially if you're going to be carrying this in the scout position, the farther down the blade you have that Tek-Lok, the worse the balance is going to be and the less effective that position of carry is going to be. So this right here, what you're looking at, I think is the ideal. Having it as close to the handle as possible, and then also elevated just high enough that that Tek-Lok can clear the ring section of the sheath. So, all right, so there you have it. It's really hard to rotate. That is by design. If you look at this, this one apparently isn't tightened down very much, but here, let me just tighten that down real quick. This one is just kind of on there for demonstration. The other one is on the sheath, is going to stay on it and actually ship to him. So I got to remember to take the Tek-Lok off and keep that so I can box up the sheath and this extra plate. So yeah, it's really hard to rotate because it's got some rubber spacers behind it. And then these ones have a metal washer on both sides of the plate. That is to help reduce the friction. So you're going to get a really good strong pinch. And there's a rubber spacer, if you can see it, through the middle screw. I think you can see that down in there. There's a rubber spacer behind all three of these. For the outer two screws, it's really all about compression and pressure. And for the middle one, it's about that, but it's also about the friction that it provides so that your Tek-Lok doesn't want to rotate without your permission. So it does require a significant amount of force, but once you rotate it, you can kind of just choose the angle that you want and just leave it there. As you can see, this rotates 90 degrees in well, it's 45. If you're centered on the slots, it's 45 degrees in each direction. So you get a full 90-degree range of rotation. And as you know, Tek-Loks are symmetrical. So you can turn your Tek-Lok itself 90 degrees and you can find that same range of motion applies. You also, since the slots and the Tek-Lok grid is all symmetrical, if you turn your Tek-Lok 90 degrees, you're going to end up going either through the cross section or through the middle row here. So it's either through the middle column or the middle row. I'll actually just reverse those, but you know what I mean. But yeah, you're going to go through one of the middle sections here, all three holes bolted down. And yeah, like I said, because the Tek-Lok can be turned 90 degrees and because this offers 90 degrees, you actually have 360 degrees of options to choose from. It does require that you take the two outer screws out and turn the Tek-Lok if it's beyond the range of motion that you're finding here. The other thing is, if you decide that you want to carry it on the opposite side, well, you got to switch the plates. So you just have to figure out how you want to carry it. I suspect, as with most people, you will probably, Chris, you'll probably find that there's only like 2, maybe 3 ways that you like carrying this thing, and you can probably leave it set up, you know, like if you like carrying right-handed scout, that is going to automatically be a left-handed setup in other configurations with the Tek-Lok on that side. So chances are you probably just leave the plate set up for right-handed scout and be done with it, versus maybe you want to carry it as a right-handed vertical sheath and then have it set up for like a cross draw or something. So you absolutely could turn the Tek-Lok 90 degrees, have it upright, and then when you want to cross draw it, you could tilt it 45 degrees that way and have it on your hip. So it might be the case that you don't really have to do much to be able to work out, you know, both plates. But anyway, they're held down by 4 screws. It's very secure, and the whole thing looks a little bit funky because I had to add a little bit of width to the sheath up there to make it possible to bolt this plate down. The reason why I couldn't use the eyelets that are kind of in line with the sheath, the lower section here, is because the drill holes would go through part of the curvature of the hardware recess plate that you're looking at here on the back, and that's just a no-go. If you have it really like up on the slope, it's going to get real dicey real fast. You won't be able to comfortably bolt that down. So I opted not to play with that and just go right for the kill and make this thing a little bit wider. So I know it's not ideal to have that extra width on there, but I measured it out. It adds a little bit less than a ½ an inch to the overall width on each side. So a little bit less than an inch overall added to the width, but it gives you the ability to carry this with your canting, the Tek-Lok plate. And then the other thing it does is it puts these eyelets at almost exactly a 3-inch spread. That means that if you want to put this on a MOLLE pack, anything with MOLLE webbing on it, it's already set up at the proper interval to be able to do that. So all you'd have to do is take the hardware off, remove the plate, and then mount a couple of MOLLE locks on there. So that is totally an option. Obviously, you can use the Tek-Lok itself to mount on MOLLE. I personally don't really like that, but it is possible to do. Tek-Lok is compatible with MOLLE webbing. So, all right, guys, that is pretty much all I've got to show you on this as far as the technical details go. Chris asked if I could do this in the same colors as the factory sheath that you're looking at here. So, obviously, it's not quite the same brown. The chocolate brown that Kydex comes in is just a little bit darker than what that sheath comes in, and the Coyote is pretty close match there. So we got chocolate brown and Coyote brown, and I think that looks pretty cool. As far as the fit, it does have a good click in. There's no rattle, no play. Really good retention. This does not really have a thumb ramp because of how wide that ring is. You can use the side of that as a thumb ramp. It's just not very comfortable. So that's one thing that I don't like about this. I really like having a thumb ramp. That's just my personal preference. I like to be able to kind of silently slip the sheath out. Or the knife out of the sheath. I also really like, maybe it's just from a perspective of somebody who builds the sheaths, but I really like the effect of having that kind of ballistic draw when you push the thumb ramp and the sheath just springs off. I just think that feels really great, and also kind of gratifies me as a Kydex sheath maker. So this one really is meant to be kind of a grip it and rip it style draw, but it does have a good click in. It's got really good retention, and I think you'd be happy with this, Chris. So guys, let me know what you think of this. I am officially able to do any kind of Tek-Lok swivel plates. So guys, if you're looking for anything with adjustable cant and all that with a Tek-Lok, or with other things, I'd be able to do that as well. I have been kind of doing it already, but this is obviously a lot cleaner, a lot more precise, and I think it just offers a much better finish look to the workpiece. So let me know what you guys think of that. And obviously, if you're interested in something like that on any future products or projects rather that you order from me, please let me know. I'm doing slots, including the curved ones for the for the for the Tek-Lok swivel. So, all right, guys, let me know about this Ontario bayonet if you know anything about it. Let me know what you think of this sheath design. MOLLE compatible, Tek-Lok compatible, Tek-Lok swivel plate. Oh, it also has, if you do decide that you wanted to take, the plate off and just carry it with the Tek-Lok, the spacing of the eyelets along the side is compatible with that. And you can actually find a few different angles to carry it at. So you don't have to carry it on the plate. I just think that it's going to be your best bet, especially given the fact that it barely clears the ring as it is on this build out Tek-Lok plate that you're looking at. So it's not like you're going to get it to be lower profile magically and comfortable by just putting it directly on the sheath. So just food for thought there. But all right, guys, let me know what you think. And as always, I really appreciate you sticking around for, almost 15 minutes of rambling. I tend to go on, and I apologize for that. I'm really bad at keeping things concise. But all right, guys, I'm going to sign off. So like, share, comment, subscribe. Everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Be safe out there, and tune in for the next one. God bless.